Atomic Habits by James Clear. Why do some people succeed effortlessly while others keep failing, even when they work hard? Why does one person climb the ladder of success slowly but surely, while another keeps slipping, no matter how motivated they are? The truth is simple, yet life-changing. Success is not a product of massive action taken once in a while. It is the result of small, consistent actions, habits repeated every single day. It's not the big decisions that shape your life the most, but the tiny ones you make without even thinking. Every time you choose to wake up on time, read a page, exercise for 5 minutes, or save a little money, you're casting a vote for the kind of person you want to become. Each habit is a small step in a bigger journey. On their own, they may seem insignificant, but when compounded over weeks, months, and years, these tiny steps turn into massive outcomes. Think of success and failure like a plane veering just a few degrees off course. 1 degree left or right won't matter over a short distance, but over 1,000 miles, it can take you to a completely different continent. Habits work the same way. They slowly but surely shift your direction. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, didn't just study this concept, he lived it. In college, James Clear suffered a brutal baseball injury that left him with a broken nose, brain damage, and a long road to recovery. For months, he had to relearn the basics of life, how to walk in a straight line, how to focus his eyes, how to return to a normal routine. He didn't recover with one heroic act or grand transformation. He recovered one small habit at a time, waking up early, writing every day, working out, eating clean, tracking his progress. None of these things made a difference immediately, but over time, they compounded. His body healed, his mind sharpened, his confidence grew. Eventually, he became one of the world's leading voices on behavior change and habit formation. And it all started with tiny atomic habits. What exactly are atomic habits? The word atomic means small, like an atom, but it also means powerful and foundational. Atomic habits are the building blocks of a successful, meaningful life. They are small enough to do consistently, yet powerful enough to shape your destiny. In this video, we'll explore the key ideas from Atomic Habits. Ideas that have helped millions of people around the world break bad habits, build better ones, and become the best versions of themselves. This isn't just a book about self-discipline or willpower. It's about mastering the science and art of behavior change. By the end of this video, you'll have a new lens through which to see your daily actions. You'll learn why you keep getting stuck in the same patterns, how to finally break free, and how to create systems that pull you toward success, effortlessly and automatically. You'll understand that real change doesn't come from setting goals. It comes from changing your identity, from becoming the type of person who does the right thing naturally. Want to become a reader? Start by reading 1 page a day. Want to become fit? Start by putting on your workout shoes every morning. Want to be wealthy? Start by saving a few coins every day. It's not the size of the habit that matters. It's the consistency. Small habits, repeated daily. That's the formula. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. They chase motivation, start strong, burn out fast, and blame themselves for not having enough willpower. But the problem isn't you, it's your system. James Clear shows us that success is not about being extraordinary. It's about being consistent. It's about making the right choices easier and automatic. It's about designing your environment to support your growth. And it all starts now with one small step. So if you've ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, or like success is just out of reach, this is your turning point. You're about to discover the tools, strategies, and mindset shifts that will change your habits and change your life. Let's dive into Atomic Habits, a small book with massive power to transform. This may just be the most important words you'll hear this year, and by the time we're done, you'll never look at habits or yourself the same way again. Part 1. The Power of Atomic Habits. What if the secret to transforming your life isn't found in big breakthroughs, but in small, consistent actions that seem almost too easy to matter? That's the central idea behind Atomic Habits, a concept that redefines how we pursue success, change, and growth. Atomic habits are tiny, repeatable behaviors that, when done consistently over time, compound into extraordinary results. The term atomic is important. It implies something very small, like an atom, but also something with incredible power. Just as atoms are the building blocks of all matter, atomic habits are the building blocks of all personal transformation. James Clear emphasizes that we often dismiss the power of small improvements because they don't produce immediate, visible results. If you go to the gym for a week and don't lose weight, you assume it's not working. If you save a few coins each day, your bank account barely moves. If you read one page of a book a night, it feels slow. But here's the truth. Habits are like compound interest. The effects of your actions multiply over time. If you get just 1% better every day, you'll be 37 times better by the end of the year. That's the power of compound growth. Let's take an example. Imagine you brush your teeth every morning and evening. It only takes 2 minutes. You might think it's not a big deal, but over time, it prevents cavities, reduces dental bills, and keeps your smile healthy. Now consider saving $1 every day, just $1. In a year, that's $365. Do that for a decade with interest, and you've built financial stability without ever feeling the weight of effort. This is what atomic habits are all about. Small actions, performed consistently, that accumulate into meaningful outcomes. Now here's where most people go wrong. They focus entirely on outcomes, on goals. They say things like, I want to lose 10 kilograms, I want to write a book, or I want to run a marathon. These are great aspirations, but they're outcome-based. They put your attention on a distant result rather than the process that leads there. Outcome-based habits often fail because we treat them like a finish line. Once the goal is achieved, or if it takes too long to get there, motivation fades. People train hard for a marathon, but once it's over, they stop running. Why? Because their focus was the event, not the identity. Now compare that to identity-based habits. Instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, you say, I am a runner. Instead of, I want to write a book, you say, I am a writer. These identity-based habits are much more powerful. They go deeper than goals. They shape how you see yourself. When your habits align with your identity, change becomes natural. If you identify as a healthy person, you naturally choose water over soda. If you see yourself as someone who values growth, you naturally reach for a book instead of your phone. This is the true power of atomic habits. They don't just change your actions, they change your sense of self. But how does that transformation happen? Through a process James Clear calls the habit loop. Every habit, good or bad, follows the same cycle. Cue to craving to response to reward. A cue triggers your brain to initiate a behavior. You crave a certain outcome. You respond with an action. And if the outcome is rewarding, the habit becomes more likely to happen again. For example, your phone buzzes. Cue. You feel the urge to check it. Craving. You pick it up and scroll. Response. You see a funny meme or a message. Reward. Your brain says, that felt good. Let's do it again. Over time, this loop becomes automatic. But what if you use that same loop to build positive habits? What if the cue is your running shoes by the door? The craving is the desire to feel energized. The response is a 10-minute jog, and the reward is a boost of endorphins. Now you're starting to see how powerful this system can be. And this leads us to a key insight from the book. Focus on systems, not just goals. Goals are good for setting direction, but systems are what actually get you there. A goal is about the result you want to achieve. A system is about the process that leads to that result. Let's say your goal is to write a book. The system is your writing habit. Maybe it's writing 500 words every morning. If you stick to the system, the goal takes care of itself. Clear writes, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. This quote is a game changer. Most people blame themselves for not achieving their goals. Lack of willpower, lack of discipline, bad luck. But often the real problem is the system they're operating in. You don't need more motivation. You need better systems. And systems are made up of habits. Another powerful example is in business. Two salespeople might have the same monthly target. One works sporadically, driven by bursts of motivation. The other sticks to a daily system, calling 5 leads before noon, sending 3 follow-ups, and reviewing client notes at 4 p.m. Guess who's more consistent? Guess who wins in the long run? The person with the system, always. This shift from goals to systems, from outcomes to identity, is the foundation of Atomic Habits. It's what makes the book so much more than a typical self-help manual. It's not about hustling harder or grinding longer. It's about being strategic, intentional, and consistent with the smallest parts of your life. Here's a truth worth remembering. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single action will change your life overnight. But as the votes pile up, so does your identity. Eventually, you become the kind of person who always wakes up early, always eats well, and always finishes what they start. This is how real change happens. Quietly, gradually, powerfully. So ask yourself, what kind of person do you want to become? What small action can you take today to cast a vote in that direction? Because in the end, your life is not shaped by the goals you set, but by the habits you build. And the best part? You don't need to wait for next year, next month, or even next week. You can start today with one small atomic habit. Part 2. The 4 Laws of Behavior Change. How to build good habits and break bad ones, step by step. Now that we understand the power of small habits and how they compound into massive results, the next question is, how do we actually build good habits that stick? And just as important, how do we break the bad ones that seem to follow us everywhere? James Clear gives us a simple, science-backed strategy in Atomic Habits called the 4 Laws of Behavior Change. This framework isn't based on motivation or willpower. It's based on how your brain naturally builds habits. Once you understand it, you can start designing better behaviors and reshaping your life, one habit at a time. Let's start with the habit loop. Every habit, good or bad, follows a pattern. Cue, craving, response, reward. The cue is the trigger that starts the habit. The craving is the desire or motivation that follows. The response is the behavior itself, what you do. The reward is the benefit you gain, reinforcing the behavior. For example, you're feeling stressed at work, cue. You crave relief, craving. You reach for your phone to scroll social media, response. And you feel distracted or entertained, reward. Do this enough times and your brain begins to automate it. Clear's 4 Laws of Behavior. Change are designed to help us influence each stage of the habit loop. Let's dive into each law and see how it works. Law 1. Make it obvious, cue. If a habit is invisible or hidden, it's unlikely to happen consistently. That's why the first law of behavior change is to make the cue obvious. This means you need to design your environment in a way that your desired habit is triggered automatically. Want to read more books? Put one on your pillow each morning so you see it at night. Want to drink more water? Leave a bottle on your desk where you can't miss it. One of James Clear's best strategies here is habit stacking. This involves linking a new habit to an existing one. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 1 minute. After I pour my coffee, I will write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Because your current habits already have strong cues, piggybacking on them makes the new behavior much easier to remember. Also, environment design is key. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your environment. If you want to change your habits, change your surroundings, make good cues obvious and hide the bad ones. Law 2. Make it attractive, craving. The second step of the habit loop is craving, the desire behind the action. If a habit feels dull or boring, your brain won't crave it, and you'll struggle to stay consistent. So how do we make a habit more attractive? One technique is called temptation bundling. This is where you pair a habit you need to do with something you want to do. For example, I'll only watch Netflix while I'm on the treadmill. I'll only drink my favorite smoothie after I work out. I'll only listen to my favorite podcast while doing chores. This way you begin to associate the positive feeling of the reward with the habit itself, making the whole process more enjoyable. Social influence is also powerful. We tend to imitate the habits of the people around us. So surround yourself with people who already live the way you want to. Join a book club if you want to read more. Work out with a friend. Being in an environment where good habits are the norm makes them feel more natural, more attractive, and easier to stick with. Law 3. Make it easy. Response. This is one of the most overlooked truths in habit formation. The easier a behavior is, the more likely it is to happen. Complexity is the enemy of execution. That's why the third law is to make the response, the habit itself, as easy as possible. Clear introduces the 2-minute rule. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Want to start reading? Just read one page. Want to run? Just put on your shoes. Want to write? Just open your notebook. The goal is not to finish the marathon. The goal is to become the kind of person who shows up. Why does this work? Because the hardest part of any habit is starting. Once you're in motion, momentum takes over. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to make it easy enough to begin. You can also reduce friction in your environment. If you want to practice guitar, don't keep it in the case. Hang it on the wall. Want to cook healthy meals? Chop veggies in advance? Want to avoid distractions? Log out of social media. The fewer steps between you and the good habit, the more likely it is to stick. Law 4. Make it satisfying. Reward. The final part of the habit loop is the reward, the satisfaction you get from doing the habit. The fourth law of behavior change is to make the result satisfying. So your brain says, let's do this again. The problem is that most good habits have delayed rewards. You don't get fit after one workout. You don't get rich after one investment. And that's why many people give up early. They don't feel progress right away. So how do you fix that? Create immediate rewards for your habits. For example, use a habit tracker to check off your progress. It feels good to see visual proof. Put a coin in a jar every time you complete your habit. Celebrate small wins with a smile, fist pump, or personal reward. The more immediately satisfying the habit is, the more likely it will become automatic. Your brain loves closing loops. It wants to feel a win. Give it one. Conversely, to break a bad habit, make it unsatisfying. Introduce consequences. Tell someone your plan and let them hold you accountable. Use apps that charge you money if you skip your habit. The more painful or disappointing the outcome, the less likely your brain will want to repeat it. So to summarize, here are the 4 laws of behavior change again. 1. Make it obvious. Create clear cues in your environment. 2. Make it attractive. Use temptation and community to boost desire. 3. Make it easy. Reduce friction and follow the 2-minute rule. 4. Make it satisfying. Create instant rewards to reinforce the habit. These laws mirror how your brain naturally builds behaviors. When you follow them, you're not fighting your biology, you're working with it. Remember, habits are not about doing more. They're about doing what matters consistently. When you make small changes to your behavior in a smart, strategic way, those changes begin to ripple through every area of your life. This is the science of transformation, and it's available to you right now, one habit at a time. Law 1. Make it obvious. How awareness and environment shape your habits. Have you ever looked back on your day and realized you spent hours doing things you never intended to do? Scrolling your phone? Snacking? Watching just one more episode? The truth is, many of our daily actions aren't conscious choices, they're habits on autopilot. That's why the first law of behavior change is so important. Make it obvious. If you want to build better habits, the first step is to become aware of your current ones. Because here's the truth. You can't change a habit you don't even notice. Most people walk through life blinded by their routines. James Clear calls this the invisible architecture of daily life. Our actions are largely shaped by subtle cues in our environment, whether we realize it or not. So how do we bring habits into the light? How do we make them obvious so we can take control? Step 1. Awareness through habit tracking. Before you can improve a habit, you have to notice it. One simple way to do this is through a habit scorecard. Take a sheet of paper and write down everything you do in a typical day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. Then go through the list and mark each habit as positive, negative, or neutral, based on whether it aligns with the person you want to become. For example, wake up, positive. Check phone immediately, negative. Brush teeth, positive. Skip breakfast, negative. Drive to work, neutral. Listen to a podcast, Positive. Watch Netflix for 2 hours. Negative. This exercise doesn't require judgment. It's about awareness. Most people live reactively, not realizing how their environment is triggering habits all day long. But once you bring these patterns into focus, you take the first step toward change. Step 2. Use implementation intentions. Once you've become aware of the habits you want to build or break, it's time to make them obvious and deliberate. One of the most powerful tools here is something called implementation intentions. An implementation intention is a clear plan that states when and where you will perform a habit. Instead of saying, I want to read more, you say, I will read for 20 minutes at 9 p.m. in the living room. That level of clarity dramatically increases your chances of follow-through. Why? Because it removes ambiguity. Your brain knows exactly what to do, when to do it, and where to do it. You can use this formula, I will behavior at time and location. For example, I will stretch for 5 minutes at 6:30 a.m. in my bedroom. I will write 1 page at 8 p.m. at my desk. I will drink a glass of water after I wake up in the kitchen. This simple strategy turns vague wishes into concrete intentions, and that's a game changer. Step 3. Use habit stacking. Want an even easier way to build a new habit? Try habit stacking. Habit stacking is a method where you attach a new habit to an existing one. Because your current habits are already part of your daily rhythm, they can serve as perfect anchors for new behaviors. The formula looks like this. After current habit, I will new habit. Examples. After I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 2 minutes. After I pour my morning coffee, I will journal for 1 minute. After I take off my shoes, I will do 10 push-ups. This technique works because it leverages something you already do. You don't have to remember a new cue. You're simply adding a second step to an established routine. Over time, your brain links the two actions, and the new habit becomes automatic. You're not trying to change your entire routine overnight. You're simply sliding a small improvement into the cracks of your existing life. That's the secret to sustainable change. Step 4. Optimize your environment. Here's one of the most powerful truths from Atomic Habits. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. We like to think we're driven by discipline and willpower, but in reality, much of our behavior is shaped by our surroundings. Your environment sends constant signals, and your brain reacts to those signals, often without you even thinking about it. Think about this. Why is it so easy to snack at night? Probably because the chips are right on the counter, visible and easy to grab. Why do you keep checking your phone? Because it's sitting next to you, lighting up every few minutes. The key to making a habit obvious is designing your environment to support it. If you want to practice guitar more often, leave it out of its case and in plain sight. If you want to eat healthier, put fruits and vegetables at eye level in the fridge. If you want to drink more water, place bottles in multiple rooms. The visual cue makes the habit easier to remember and easier to start. This also works in reverse. If you want to stop a bad habit, make the cue invisible. Hide the junk food. Turn off app notifications. Put your phone in another room during focused work. Reduce exposure to the cues that trigger behaviors you want to avoid. Small changes in your physical environment can create massive changes in your behavior over time. Step 5. Use visual reminders and rituals. Another way to make a habit obvious is to use visual cues, reminders that keep your intention front and center. Sticky notes, calendar alerts, checklists. These are not just gimmicks. They serve as triggers for action. For example, a sticky note on your bathroom mirror that says, meditate. A journal placed on your pillow to remind you to reflect before bed. A calendar with an X for every day you stick to your habit. This leads to something called the Seinfeld strategy. Don't break the chain. Once you build a streak, your new goal becomes keeping that streak alive. The longer you maintain it, the more motivated you feel to continue. Your mind loves completion. When it sees visible proof of progress, it wants to keep going. Making a habit obvious is about removing friction, not adding pressure. It's about making the desired behavior the default, not something you have to force yourself into. Let's recap how to do it. 1. Become aware. Use a habit scorecard to identify your current routines. 2. Be specific. Use implementation intentions to plan your habits clearly. 3. Attached to what you already do, use habit stacking to piggyback on strong habits. 4. Change your surroundings. Design your environment so cues for good habits are front and center. 5. Use visual cues. Reminders, checklists, and streaks keep habits visible and alive. The more obvious a habit is, the easier it becomes to start. And starting is everything. Once you begin, momentum carries you forward. Remember, motivation fades, but environment lasts. And when you design an environment that nudges you toward better habits, success becomes less about effort and more about alignment. So take a look around. What cues are shaping your life? What's visible, accessible, and easy to reach? Because the path to lasting change doesn't start with motivation. It starts with what's right in front of you. Make it obvious, and you make it inevitable. Law 2, make it attractive. Why your brain craves certain habits and how to use that to your advantage. Why do we reach for our phones the moment we wake up? Why is it easier to binge watch a show than read a chapter of a book? The answer's simple. Some habits are more attractive than others, and the more attractive a habit is, the more likely we are to do it. James Clear's second law of behavior change, make it attractive, is about understanding and working with the brain's natural reward system. It's about tapping into the psychology of craving and learning how to make good habits feel irresistible. Because let's be honest, if something feels like a chore, you'll find every excuse not to do it. But if it feels rewarding or exciting, suddenly it's no longer a struggle. The good news? You can engineer this feeling. You can make good habits more appealing. Let's dive into how. The science of craving. Every habit follows a neurological feedback loop known as the cue to craving to response to reward cycle. Here's what that looks like. Cue. You see a cookie on the counter. Craving. You anticipate the sweet taste and the feeling of pleasure. Response. You eat the cookie. Reward. You enjoy the sugary hit, and your brain logs that as a win. The craving is what drives the habit, not the action itself, but the feeling we associate with it. That's why the second law is so powerful. When you make a habit attractive, you increase the craving that drives the action. Temptation bundling, the cheat code for discipline. One of the most powerful strategies James Clear introduces is called temptation bundling. It's simple. Pair something you need to do with something you want to do. This works because it makes the habit more appealing. Your brain starts looking forward to it, not dreading it. Examples. Only listen to your favorite podcast while doing household chores. Only watch Netflix while exercising on a treadmill. Only enjoy your favorite coffee while writing your journal. Only check social media after reading 10 pages of a book. This strategy trains your brain to associate hard tasks with pleasure, which increases the craving to begin. It turns discipline into desire. Here's the formula. I will only want to do habit when I need to do habit. Over time, this builds a positive loop where the reward fuels the behavior, and the behavior becomes more automatic. The role of social influence. We do what others do. Humans are wired to seek belonging. We want to fit in, be accepted, and feel part of a tribe. This instinct affects our habits more than we realize. The behaviors we see around us silently shape our definition of what's normal. As James Clear puts it, one of the deepest human desires is to belong. And when belonging conflicts with self-improvement, belonging usually wins. That's why surrounding yourself with the right people is critical for habit formation. There are 3 primary groups that influence our behavior. 1. The close, friends and family. 2. The many, peer groups and communities. 3. The powerful, people we admire or respect. Let's explore how to leverage each group. 1. The close, friends and family. We tend to imitate the habits of those closest to us. If your friends eat fast food every day, chances are you will too. If your partner reads every night, you're more likely to pick up a book. The takeaway? Proximity matters. If you want to adopt a new habit, spend more time around people who already embody it. Want to get fit? Join a group of fitness-minded friends. Want to save money? Hang around financially conscious people. You don't even need to talk about the habit. Simply being around them increases the chances you'll pick it up. 2. The many, the pull of the crowd. When we're unsure how to act, we look to the crowd for cues. If everyone at a dinner table orders dessert, you're more likely to do the same, even if you plan not to. This is why social proof is such a strong motivator. When a behavior feels common, it feels safe. Want to use this to your advantage? Join a group where your desired behavior is the norm. For example, join a book club if you want to read more. Take a cooking class if you want to eat healthier. Sign up for a writing community if you want to publish your work. The more you see people like you doing the thing you want to do, the more attractive that habit becomes. 3. The powerful. Imitating those we admire. We naturally gravitate toward the habits of people we respect or idolize. That's why influencer marketing works and why role models matter. Think about someone you admire. Maybe it's an author, an athlete, a business leader. Ask yourself, what are their daily routines? What habits help them succeed? How can I adopt similar behaviors? When we emulate the habits of those we admire, we tap into their identity. We don't just want their results, we want to become like them. That's a powerful source of motivation. Creating a motivational ritual. Another way to make a habit attractive is by turning it into a ritual, something that feels sacred, exciting, or meaningful. Think of it like dressing up your habit in a costume that makes it irresistible. For example, lighting a scented candle before writing, playing a specific playlist before going for a run, drinking herbal tea before meditation. These small rituals act like mental cues. They tell your brain, it's time to do something important. And when paired with a positive emotion, they can transform a simple routine into something you look forward to. The more enjoyable and meaningful a habit feels, the more you'll crave it. Reframing. Change the way you think about habits. Sometimes the key to making a habit attractive is simply changing the way you talk about it. Instead of saying, I have to wake up early, say I get to start my day with clarity. I have to exercise. Say I'm investing in my strength and health. I have to cook at home. Say I'm choosing to fuel my body with good food. This mental shift may seem small, but it has a big impact. You start to associate the habit with empowerment, not obligation. And that makes it more emotionally rewarding. Make the habit feel like a treat. Lastly, don't underestimate the power of a little indulgence. Sometimes the best way to stick to a new habit is to reward yourself immediately after. This creates a positive association and keeps the habit enjoyable. For example, treat yourself to a fancy coffee after finishing a writing session. Watch your favorite YouTuber after completing your daily workout. Take a relaxing bath after hitting your step goal. When you look forward to what comes after the habit, you're more likely to start the habit. The second law of behavior change, make it attractive, is about harnessing the forces of craving, emotion, and desire. Instead of relying on willpower, you work with your brain's natural wiring. Let's recap how to do it. 1. Use temptation bundling. Link what you need to do with what you want to do. 2. Leverage social influence. Surround yourself with people who embody your desired identity. 3. Create motivational rituals. Add meaning and enjoyment to the process. 4. Reframe your mindset. See your habits as empowering, not draining. 5. Celebrate your effort. Reward yourself in ways that reinforce the habit. Remember, humans do what feels good, not what makes logical sense. So don't just focus on the outcome. Make the process of your habit something you can actually look forward to. When your habits are attractive, you don't need to force them. You'll crave them. You'll enjoy them. And they'll become a natural, lasting part of who you are. Law 3. Make it easy. Why simplicity beats motivation. Every time. We often think success comes from massive effort and perfect execution. But James Clear flips that idea on its head with the third law of behavior change. Make it easy. The truth is, friction is the enemy of progress. The more steps, effort, or mental energy a habit requires, the more likely we are to avoid it. On the other hand, when a habit is simple, convenient, and low effort, we glide into it almost effortlessly. It's not about being lazy, it's about being strategic. Success isn't about doing more. It's about making it easier to do what matters most. Let's break down how this principle works and how you can apply it to any area of your life. Why ease wins over willpower? You already know this from experience. If your gym clothes are buried deep in your closet, you're less likely to go work out. If your phone is right next to your bed, you'll check it first thing in the morning. If your guitar is always on its stand in the living room, you'll play more often. If your healthy meals are prepped and ready, you're more likely to eat clean. None of this is about motivation. It's about access. The easier it is to start, the more likely you are to follow through. James Clear writes, "Habits are the entry point, not the end point. Your goal is not to read one book. It's to become a reader. Your goal is not to do one workout. It's to become the kind of person who never skips a workout." So the focus shifts from trying harder to making it easier. That brings us to one of the most powerful tools in the book, the 2-minute rule. The 2-minute rule, master the art of starting. Here's the rule. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. That's it. Keep it so small that it's almost impossible to fail. The magic is in momentum. Once you've started, your brain is more likely to keep going. Examples. Read one page instead of read for 30 minutes. Fold one piece of laundry instead of clean the house. Put on running shoes instead of run 5 miles. Open your notebook instead of write a chapter. It might sound silly at first, but this is how real change begins. Not with ambition, but with action. Not with pressure, but with ease. Over time, that tiny beginning grows into something powerful. You go from one push-up to 30, from one page to a book a week, from 2 minutes to a new identity. Focus on showing up, not perfection. A powerful mindset shift is to forget about doing it perfectly and just focus on doing it at all. Consider this story from James Clear's book. A photography professor divides his class into 2 groups. One group is graded on quantity, take as many photos as possible. The other group is graded on quality, submit only one perfect photo. Surprisingly, the best photos came from the quantity group. Why? Because they were practicing, not obsessing. They were showing up and learning by doing, not waiting for the perfect shot. This is exactly how habits grow. Repetition, not perfection, is what builds mastery. Want to be a better writer? Write something, anything, every day. Want to learn guitar? Practice a few chords daily, even if it sounds terrible. Want to get fit? Show up at the gym, even if all you do is stretch. Doing it badly is infinitely better than not doing it at all. And ironically, the more you just show up, the better you get. Use automation to reduce decision fatigue. Another way to make habits easier is to remove the need to decide every time. When you rely on willpower, you introduce friction. When you automate or pre-commit, you remove resistance. Here's how. Schedule your workouts in advance. If it's on your calendar, it's more likely to happen. Lay out your clothes the night before. Makes getting ready for the gym frictionless. Use meal prep or delivery apps. Eliminate the need to decide what to eat. Set recurring reminders. Automate your brain to remember the habit. Use habit tracking apps. Seeing your streak gives you a dopamine hit and adds motivation. Automation isn't about laziness. It's about designing a system that supports your goals, even when you don't feel like it. James Clear calls this the decisive moment. It's the small action that sets the whole habit in motion. For example, lacing up your shoes leads to a workout. Opening your laptop leads to a writing session. Filling a glass of water leads to drinking more throughout the day. By making that first step automatic, you reduce the resistance to everything that follows. Pre-commitment. Lock in the habit before the moment arrives. Pre-commitment is another secret weapon in your habit-building arsenal. It means making decisions in advance, before you face the temptations of the moment. Examples: delete social media apps if they distract you. Pay for a class up front so you feel compelled to attend. Join a group with regular accountability, like a running club or writing group. Put your phone in another room while working. Clear's message is simple. Design your future actions today, because in the heat of the moment, you'll do what's easiest, not what's best. So make what's best the easiest option. Prime your environment. Want to read more? Leave a book on your pillow. Want to floss daily? Put floss right next to your toothbrush. Want to practice guitar? Keep it out of the case and in the living room. Small tweaks to your environment can remove huge amounts of friction. The fewer steps it takes to start a habit, the more likely it is to happen. James Clear writes, Environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. This means the success of your habits depends less on your determination and more on your surroundings. So take a look around. What's in your way? What can you rearrange, remove, or prepare to make good habits easier and bad habits harder? Habits are the path of least resistance. Let's face it, we all take the path of least resistance. That's why you scroll instead of study, snack instead of cook, and postpone instead of perform. But here's the twist. You can design your path of least resistance to point toward the life you want. Instead of fighting distractions, remove them. Instead of waiting for motivation, reduce friction. Instead of aiming for perfect, just aim for done. Because in the end, what gets repeated becomes who you are. Not the heroic acts, but the easy ones. The ones so small they almost don't feel like progress, until one day they are. The third law of behavior change, make it easy, isn't about lowering your standards. It's about removing the obstacles that keep you stuck. Here's your cheat sheet. 1. Follow the 2-minute rule. Make your habits so simple it's impossible to fail. 2. Focus on showing up. Master consistency before you worry about intensity. 3. Automate where possible. Use systems, reminders, and tools to make action frictionless. 4. Pre-commit in advance. Remove the chance for bad decisions by planning ahead. 5. Design your environment. Make good habits the obvious, easy choice. Remember, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep going. Real change doesn't come from doing more. It comes from making it easier to start. And when starting is easy, everything else follows. Law 4. Make it satisfying. Why instant rewards are the secret sauce of lasting habits. We're wired for satisfaction. The brain loves what feels good. And that's exactly why we repeat behaviors that bring pleasure and avoid those that feel painful or dull. This is the core of James Clear's fourth law of behavior change. Make it satisfying. Most of us understand the power of reward in theory, but when it comes to our own goals, whether it's getting in shape, saving money, or waking up early, we often rely on delayed gratification. We tell ourselves, one day this will pay off. But here's the problem. Good habits have delayed rewards. Bad habits have instant ones. That's why bad habits are so tempting. Scrolling TikTok gives immediate entertainment. Eating fast food gives instant satisfaction. Skipping the gym gives quick relief. But their consequences show up later. Low energy, poor health, wasted time. On the other hand, good habits often feel boring or hard now, and their benefits come much later. Eating clean shows up in months of better health. Studying pays off in better grades weeks later. Investing compounds over years. This is what Clear calls the cardinal rule of behavior change. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. So if we want good habits to stick, we need to bring the future rewards into the present. We need to make them feel good now. Let's explore how to do that. Use reinforcement. Celebrate the behavior, not just the result. We're taught to only celebrate outcomes, hitting the goal weight, publishing the book, making a certain income. But if you only reward outcomes, you're reinforcing achievement, not consistency. To build habits, you need to reward the behavior, not the result. Why? Because repetition is what builds identity. Instead of celebrating the marathon, celebrate the training runs. Instead of rewarding yourself for finishing the book, reward yourself for showing up to write every day. Instead of only cheering after saving $1,000, feel proud every time you put $1 in your savings jar. You're teaching your brain, this is who I am. This is what I do. Build a reward system that feels good now. Here are a few ways to make your habits satisfying in the short term. 1. Habit trackers. Whether it's a calendar, journal, or app, tracking gives you visual proof of progress. Each checkmark is a little dopamine hit, and streaks are addictive. Once you see 10 days in a row, you'll do anything not to break it. 2. Immediate reinforcement. Pair the habit with something that feels good. After a workout, enjoy a smoothie or a cold shower. After reading, watch an episode of your favorite show. After meditating, put a coin in a jar labeled mental wealth. Just make sure the reward doesn't conflict with your goal. E.g., don't reward a workout with a donut every day. 3. Gamify progress. Use levels, challenges, or points. Apps like Duolingo thrive because they make language learning feel like a game. You can do the same with your goals. Give yourself badges, milestones, or little celebrations. Fourth, accountability partners or groups. The social satisfaction of telling someone, "I did it," is powerful. Whether it's a group chat, a coach, or a friend, sharing your wins gives habits an emotional reward. Build the identity. Every action is a vote. One of the most powerful lines in Atomic Habits is this: every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. Want to be healthy? Each healthy meal is a vote. Want to be a writer? Each sentence is a vote. Want to be disciplined? Each early wake-up is a vote. You don't need 100% of the votes to win the election. You just need a majority. This shifts the game completely. You stop chasing goals and start casting votes. You're not focused on outcomes. You're reinforcing identity. You begin to think, "I'm someone who doesn't skip workouts. I'm someone who saves money, even if it's just a little. I'm the kind of person who honors my commitments." When you link satisfaction to who you're becoming, the habit becomes intrinsically rewarding. You're no longer just checking a box, you're reinforcing a new version of yourself. What gets rewarded gets repeated. Let's zoom out. Think about habits like training a pet. If you reward it immediately, it learns faster. The same is true for your brain. If a habit feels satisfying, has visible progress, reinforces identity, comes with a small win feeling, pachui, then your brain tags it as, "do this again." And the more times you repeat it, the stronger it becomes. James Clear puts it this way: habits form based on frequency, not time. So don't worry about how long it takes. Worry about how often you repeat the habit in a satisfying way. Satisfying is not equal to fake or shallow. Let's address a myth. Some people think rewarding yourself means being childish or undisciplined. But that's not true. Reinforcement is how the brain works. Even elite athletes and top performers build in rewards. It's not about tricking yourself. It's about aligning with human psychology. And over time, the habit becomes the reward. You start to enjoy working out, writing, waking up early, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. The satisfaction becomes internal. But to get there, you need that initial nudge of external satisfaction to lock in the habit. What about breaking bad habits? You can reverse this law when trying to quit a bad habit. Make it unsatisfying. Add accountability. Tell a friend or coach your goal. Failing becomes embarrassing. Use consequences. Lose money if you relapse. Use apps like Stick or BeMinder. Make it boring or painful. For example, delete the app that distracts you, or turn your phone to grayscale to make scrolling less appealing. Involve others. The fear of social disapproval can help kill bad habits fast. When you make a bad habit unsatisfying, your brain starts to disconnect from it. It no longer feels rewarding, and it slowly loses power. The final message: make it feel good to do good. So let's recap the fourth law. What is immediately rewarded gets repeated. Track your wins. Celebrate small victories. Focus on identity, not just results. Make habits feel satisfying in the now, not just the future. Because here's the truth: it's not willpower that builds your future. It's not punishment that builds your character. It is satisfaction, the kind that comes from progress, identity, and alignment with your values. Make your habits feel good. Make them visible. Make them meaningful. And you'll find yourself returning to them, not because you have to, but because you want to. Because when habits are satisfying, change becomes automatic. And when change is automatic, success is inevitable. Part 3: How to break bad habits. Applying the 4 laws in reverse to defeat bad habits. Bad habits are sneaky. They creep into your life, often disguised as something harmless. But over time, they can have a serious impact on your success, health, and well-being. But here's the good news: you can break them. In this section, we'll reverse the 4 laws of behavior change, James Clear's framework for building good habits, and use them to break the bad ones. By the end, you'll know exactly how to make bad habits difficult, unattractive, and ultimately unsatisfying. Let's dive in. 1. Make it invisible, inverting law. 1. Make it obvious. The first step to breaking a bad habit is to make it invisible. We're talking about reducing exposure to the triggers that cause the habit. Out of sight truly can be out of mind. Bad habits often thrive in environments where we're constantly reminded of them. Whether it's the pile of junk food on your counter, your phone within arm's reach, or the TV remote sitting in front of you, constant exposure makes it almost impossible to ignore the temptation. How to apply this? Hide the temptation. If you're trying to stop scrolling social media, keep your phone out of sight. You can use apps like Forest or Focus at Will to lock your phone or turn it off during work. Out of sight, out of mind. If you're trying to cut back on eating junk food, don't keep unhealthy snacks in your house. Or if you have a habit of snacking late at night, don't store snacks in your kitchen at all. Unsubscribe and unfollow. If you tend to waste time on certain apps or websites, unsubscribe from email lists, unfollow distracting accounts, or even block certain apps during work hours. The less you see the cue for the bad habit, the less likely you'll act on it. Creating distance from your triggers is a powerful first step in breaking bad habits. 2. Make it unattractive, inverting law. 2. Make it attractive. If a habit is appealing and gratifying, it's hard to resist. The more pleasurable the action, the more likely you are to repeat it. To break a bad habit, you need to make it feel unattractive. In other words, you want to reframe the behavior and its consequences in your mind. How to apply this? Highlight the negatives. Focus on the downsides of your bad habit. For instance, if you're trying to quit smoking, remind yourself of the health risks and the financial cost. Write down the reasons why this habit doesn't serve you and keep it visible. Contrast with good habits. For example, if you're trying to stop binge-watching TV, remind yourself of the benefits of being productive, like feeling accomplished or improving your health through exercise. Reframe the attractiveness of your bad habit by comparing it to the rewards of a good one. Pair it with something unpleasant. An effective way to reframe a bad habit is to pair it with something you dislike. If you have a tendency to eat junk food, you could pair it with an unappealing task, like doing push-ups or jumping jacks every time you eat something unhealthy. This creates an association between the bad habit and an unpleasant consequence. Making a bad habit feel unattractive works because it reduces its power over you. When a habit no longer seems rewarding, it's much easier to walk away from it. 3. Make it difficult, inverting law. 3. Make it easy. The next step in breaking bad habits is to make them harder to do. This is about creating friction. The more effort it takes to perform a bad habit, the less likely you are to do it. The easier something is to do, the more you'll repeat it. To stop a bad habit, increase the level of difficulty or inconvenience required. How to apply this? Increase the effort. Make the habit more difficult by adding friction. If you're trying to cut down on social media usage, delete the apps from your phone or set up restrictions that prevent you from using them. If you want to stop eating junk food, don't keep it readily accessible. Remove it from your house or make it inconvenient to go out and buy it. Make the action harder to perform. Instead of just deleting apps, you could also put your phone in another room or require a password to access certain websites. If you want to stop procrastinating, disable your internet or block distracting websites while you work. Use pre-commitment strategies. Commit to doing something else before you can engage in the bad habit. If you're trying to stop smoking, you could promise yourself that you'll call a friend before lighting a cigarette. This creates a hurdle before indulging in the habit. By making the behavior harder to perform, you give yourself a chance to stop and reconsider before engaging in the bad habit. The more difficult it is to execute, the more likely you are to resist. 4. Make it unsatisfying, inverting law. 4. Make it satisfying. The most powerful way to break a habit is to make it unsatisfying. This means eliminating any rewards or positive feelings associated with the bad habit and replacing them with consequences. People don't continue habits that don't feel good. So by creating negative feedback for bad behaviors, you make it less likely you'll repeat them. How to apply this? Use accountability. Share your goal to break a bad habit with a friend, family member, or coach. Knowing someone is holding you accountable adds social pressure to avoid the habit. Consider signing a commitment contract where you have to pay a penalty if you fail. Add negative consequences. Set up automatic penalties for bad behavior. For example, if you skip a workout or smoke a cigarette, donate money to a cause you don't support or penalize yourself by making your friend choose a consequence for you. Using an app like BeMinder can help you commit to your goals with real financial consequences if you don't follow through. Create a habit contract. Write down the consequences for breaking your bad habit. You could also involve a friend to help enforce these consequences. When the action feels costly, you're less likely to engage in the bad habit. Reframe your mindset. Instead of seeing indulgences as rewards, try to reframe them as failures. Each time you give in to a bad habit, think of it as a missed opportunity to become a better version of yourself. Associating negative feelings with the habit will eventually reduce your desire for it. When a habit is no longer satisfying, you won't want to repeat it. This creates an immediate and effective barrier to temptation, emphasizing the environment over willpower. Breaking bad habits is less about sheer willpower and more about changing your environment and system. Willpower is a limited resource. It's easy to exhaust, and once it's gone, it's hard to fight temptations. But by changing your environment, you reduce the need for willpower. Your environment should support your goals and make it easier to follow through with good habits while making bad habits harder to engage in. This is why Clear emphasizes the importance of system design. Breaking bad habits doesn't require extraordinary willpower or strength. It requires making subtle, strategic changes to your environment. By applying the 4 laws in reverse, making bad habits invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying, you make it easier to avoid the behavior, disrupt your routine, and eliminate the temptation. Remember, the goal isn't to rely on willpower, but to design your environment so that the bad habits become less appealing and the good habits become automatic. By doing this, breaking a bad habit becomes not only possible, but inevitable. Part 4. Advanced Strategies in Habit Mastery. Going beyond the basics to unlock high-performance habits. You've learned the fundamentals of habit formation and breaking bad habits. But what separates the high performers from everyone else? It's not just about doing the basics. It's about mastering habits and applying advanced strategies to unlock consistent, extraordinary results. In this section, we'll go deeper. You'll learn how to push past plateaus, how to harness the Goldilocks rule, the importance of tracking and reflection, and how to align your habits with the person you want to become. If you're serious about mastering habits, this section is for you. 1. Mastering plateaus. Why habits take time and results lag behind effort. One of the most common struggles when trying to build habits is dealing with plateaus, those periods where you seem to be putting in effort, but the results just aren't showing up yet. Whether you're working on fitness, writing, or building any other skill, this feeling of stagnation can be discouraging. But here's the truth. Plateaus are normal. James Clear describes this as the lag between effort and results. In the early stages of habit formation, you won't see immediate changes because the results are often invisible. But consistent effort compounds over time, and you're laying the foundation for future growth. How to break through plateaus. Embrace the plateau. Rather than being discouraged, accept that you're building the foundation for long-term success. When you don't see immediate results, it doesn't mean you aren't progressing. You are. Keep going. Focus on consistency. During plateaus, focus less on the immediate results and more on the daily actions. Make the process enjoyable, even if results are temporarily hidden. Over time, small, consistent efforts lead to significant change. Use the 2 steps forward, 1 step back mentality. When progress slows, remember that even a minor setback is part of the journey. Each step, whether forward or backward, builds your resilience and improves your ability to reach your goals. The key to overcoming plateaus is persistence. The effort you're putting in now is like planting seeds. It takes time before the fruits of your labor become visible. Trust the process. 2. The Goldilocks rule. Habits need to be just the right level of difficulty. The Goldilocks rule states that habits need to be challenging enough to keep you engaged, but not so difficult that they overwhelm you. It's about finding that perfect balance between boredom and burnout. When your habits are too easy, you get bored. When they're too hard, you get discouraged. The sweet spot is in the middle, just right. How to apply the Goldilocks rule. Gradually increase difficulty. As you become more skilled in a habit, slightly increase the challenge to keep things interesting and avoid plateaus. For example, if you're building a writing habit, increase your word count over time. Set micro goals. Create small, achievable targets that allow you to celebrate progress without overwhelming yourself. These mini goals should feel like they're stretching your abilities, but not too much. Track progress visually. By tracking your progress, you can see how far you've come. This visual feedback can be extremely motivating when things start to feel repetitive. The Goldilocks rule applies to every habit you try to build. If your habit is too easy, it becomes mundane and doesn't offer much satisfaction. If it's too hard, you may give up. But when the challenge is just right, you'll feel motivated, engaged, and eager to continue. 3. The importance of tracking and reflection. Seeing your growth. If you want to become a master of your habits, you need to track them and reflect on your progress. Tracking your habits allows you to measure your consistency and effectiveness, while reflection helps you make adjustments along the way. Successful habit builders don't just go through the motions. They assess, tweak, and optimize their systems as they go. How to use tracking and reflection. Use habit trackers. There are many ways to track your habits. Apps, paper journals, or even simple checklists. Choose a method that works for you and makes tracking easy and fun. Seeing your progress visually can keep you motivated and help you stay consistent. Daily reflection. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to reflect on your habits. What went well? What didn't go as planned? What can you adjust tomorrow? This reflection can help you identify patterns and adjust your approach to get better results. Weekly reviews. Every week, review your habits. Look at your overall progress and make sure you're on track with your long-term goals. If you're falling behind or losing motivation, take time to realign and adjust your systems. Tracking and reflection keep you accountable and give you the tools to refine your approach. It's not just about checking off tasks, it's about staying mindful and adjusting to ensure you're on the path to success. 4. The identity shift. Habits is a reflection of who you are becoming. The most powerful way to master habits is by aligning them with your identity. Rather than focusing solely on achieving external goals, it's crucial to shift your mindset and think of habits as a reflection of the person you're becoming. How to make habits reflect your identity. Adopt an identity-based approach. Shift from, I want to achieve X, to I am the kind of person who does Y. For example, instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, start thinking of yourself as, I am a runner. By doing this, your habit isn't just something you do, it becomes part of who you are. Every action counts. Every time you perform a habit, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. If you want to be a successful writer, write every day. If you want to be fit, work out regularly. These small actions reinforce the identity you are building. Make habits part of your lifestyle. Align your habits with your lifestyle and long-term vision. When your habits reflect your identity, you're not just trying to achieve something, you're becoming someone. The habits you build now will shape who you are in the future. The more you identify with your desired habits, the easier it becomes to sustain them. Over time, these habits become so ingrained that they no longer feel like a struggle. They feel like an essential part of your identity. Mastering habits is a lifelong journey, and once you've grasped the basics, it's time to dive into advanced strategies. Understanding the plateaus and how to push through them, applying the Goldilocks rule to stay engaged, tracking your progress, and shifting your identity will unlock the high-performance habits that lead to extraordinary results. By aligning your habits with who you are becoming, you make them more than just actions. They become the core of your success. High-performance habits are not something you do temporarily. They are the blueprint for the person you wish to become. Keep refining, stay persistent, and embrace the journey of continual improvement. The results will speak for themselves. Part 5. Common pitfalls and how to avoid them. How to stay on track. When habits get hard, even with the best strategies in the world, The path to lasting change is rarely smooth. Life gets in the way. We get tired, stressed, distracted, or discouraged. That's why understanding the common pitfalls of habit building is just as important as knowing what works. Let's talk about the traps that most people fall into and how to navigate around them with clarity, patience, and resilience. 1. Don't chase motivation. Design systems. One of the biggest mistakes people make is relying on motivation. They wait to feel like it. But motivation is like the weather, unpredictable and constantly shifting. Sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't. Building your life around motivation is a recipe for inconsistency. Instead, design systems that work regardless of how you feel. Systems are the daily routines, environment setups, and strategies that remove friction from good habits and add friction to bad ones. Want to write every day? Keep a journal next to your bed. Want to eat healthier? Prep your meals on Sunday. Systems don't rely on feelings, they rely on structure, and structure leads to progress. 2. Don't expect overnight change. Focus on consistency. We live in a world that celebrates overnight success, but true change is slow, steady, and invisible at first. One of the greatest pitfalls in habit formation is expecting rapid transformation. The truth? Habits compound. Just like money in a savings account, small changes grow over time. But at first you see nothing. Then slowly progress creeps in, until one day it's undeniable. Instead of looking for quick wins, commit to consistent reps. Reading one page a day might not feel like much, but in a year that's 365 pages. In 3 years, you've read over 1,000. That's how transformation works, quietly in the background until it explodes into something meaningful. 3. Beware of all or nothing thinking. One of the most damaging mindsets is the all or nothing trap. You miss one workout and think, I've failed. You eat one donut and tell yourself, the whole day is ruined. But perfectionism kills progress. The truth is, missing once doesn't matter. Quitting does. James Clear puts it simply, never miss twice. Life happens. You'll miss days. You'll get sick, travel, have emergencies. But that's not a sign to quit. It's a sign to get back on track, quickly and gently. Consistency isn't about being perfect. It's about returning to the habit again and again, even after you fall off. So when things go off track, don't spiral. Just restart. 4. Learn to recover quickly from setbacks. Setbacks aren't failures. They're part of the process. Everyone slips. Everyone hits walls. But high performers have a special skill. They recover quickly. Rather than wallowing in guilt or frustration, they ask a simple question. What went wrong, and how can I adjust? If you skipped your morning routine, maybe you went to bed too late. If you binged on junk food, maybe your environment wasn't set up to help you win. Learn from the stumble, then tweak your system. Recovery is a skill, and the faster you recover, the more unstoppable you become. Habits aren't just about what you do, they're about what you repeat. Avoiding common pitfalls is less about being flawless and more about being flexible. If you can let go of motivation, stop chasing perfection, and build systems that keep you consistent, you'll be able to weather any storm. Real change isn't about intensity, it's about sustainability. And if you can learn to bounce back again and again, there's no habit you can't master. Part 6. Habits that change your life. Simple actions, extraordinary results. Sometimes we think change requires something huge. A big move, a new job, a complete 180th. But the truth? Life transformation begins with the smallest of habits. The kind that seem almost too simple to matter. But when repeated daily, they can reshape your body, your mind, your bank account, and your future. Let's explore some of the most powerful habits that, if practiced consistently, will quietly and profoundly change your life. 1. Read 10 pages a day. Feed your mind, elevate your thinking. Just 10 pages a day. It sounds small, and it is. But do the math. That's over 3,600 pages a year, roughly 12 to 15 books. And not just any books. Imagine feeding your brain with books on personal development, leadership, psychology, business, finance, or even biographies of the greats. Every day you're absorbing new ideas, expanding your perspective, and sharpening your mind. In a world that's distracted and overstimulated, this one habit gives you an unfair advantage. Readers lead, and reading 10 pages a day is how you stay 10 steps ahead. 2. Save 5% of every dollar you earn. Build financial peace, not just wealth. Money stress is one of the biggest drains on mental health. But here's a powerful habit. Every time you get paid, save just 5%. If you earn $1,000, put away $50. If you earn $200, save $10. It's not about the amount, it's about the discipline. It's about teaching yourself to pay you first. Over time, this grows into your emergency fund, your investment starter, your safety net. And more than that, it builds self-respect. You stop being a slave to every impulse and start becoming a builder of your future. Wealth isn't about luck, it's about habits. And saving even a small slice of your income is the foundation of financial freedom. 3. Walk daily. Boost energy, brain power, and longevity. Walking is medicine. It reduces stress, clears your mind, improves heart health, sparks creativity. It even releases endorphins, the brain's natural, feel-good chemicals. And you don't need to run marathons. Just 20 to 30 minutes a day. No gym membership, no equipment. Just your feet, fresh air, and movement. Make walking a non-negotiable part of your day, whether it's a morning stroll, a lunchtime reset, or an evening wind down. As your body moves, your mind follows. And you'll be shocked at how this one habit spills over into every other area of your life. 4. Meditate for 2 minutes. Master your mind. Find stillness in chaos. Your mind is your most powerful tool, and often your most dangerous one. Meditation isn't just for monks. It's for anyone who wants peace, focus, and control in a noisy world. Start small. 2 minutes. Sit still. Breathe. Observe your thoughts without judgment. At first, your mind will wander. That's okay. The power is in the return, in gently bringing your attention back. That's where clarity is built. That's how awareness grows. Over time, you'll become less reactive, more centered, and more in control of your thoughts and emotions. Meditation is like weightlifting for your brain. The reps are invisible, but the results are undeniable. 5. Journal. Every evening. Understand yourself. Solve your life. Life moves fast. Most people never stop to reflect, but the habit of journaling changes that. Spend just 5 minutes at the end of your day. Ask, what did I learn today? What am I grateful for? What could I have done better? By putting your thoughts on paper, you begin to organize your mind. You recognize patterns, you process emotions, you make better decisions. Journaling increases emotional intelligence, and emotional intelligence is what drives wise actions and strong relationships. This simple habit will help you become more self-aware, more resilient, and more intentional. You'll stop living on autopilot and start living on purpose. Final message: start small, stay consistent, change who you are. You don't need to do all these habits at once. In fact, don't. Pick one. Start small. Stick with it. Let it take root. Because habits aren't just about what you do, they're about who you're becoming. Every small action is a vote for your future identity. Read, and you become a learner. Save, and you become responsible. Meditate, and you become calm. Journal, and you become reflective. Walk, and you become strong. Small hinges swing big doors. The smallest daily choices can lead to the biggest life changes. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for a new year. Start now. Build the habits that will build you. Finally, you've just been given a powerful blueprint, a framework that can genuinely transform every area of your life. Not through magic, but through momentum, through the quiet force of small habits repeated daily. From understanding the 4 laws of behavior change, to learning how to make habits obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying, to using those same laws in reverse to break the ones that hold you back, to mastering advanced strategies and avoiding common pitfalls. to adopting life-changing habits that shape your identity. Now you know the path. The real question is, will you walk it? Will you be one of the few who moves from knowing to doing? Will you use what you've learned today to build a new version of yourself? One habit at a time? Because here's the truth. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And you don't have to change everything. Just change one thing. Start one habit. Cast one vote for your future self. That's how it starts. So here's your first small action. Leave a comment below and answer this. What's one habit you will start today? Is it reading 10 pages a day? Going for a 10-minute walk? Meditating for 2 minutes? Writing one line in your journal? Whatever it is, name it, claim it, own it, and let this be your moment of momentum. If this video gave you clarity, hope, or a new perspective, make sure to subscribe. This channel is dedicated to helping you unlock your full potential through the wisdom of books and practical tools you can apply immediately. Every week, we break down the world's most powerful ideas on personal growth, productivity, and mental mastery, all in a way that's simple, actionable, and impactful. This isn't the end of the video. It's the beginning of something greater, a new mindset, a new system, a new identity. Because when you master your habits, you master your life, and it all starts today. One small step, one tiny habit, one powerful decision. Let's build the future. One page, one action, one habit at a time. Thank you for watching. Where are you watching from?